Viewer discretion advised. This segment discusses sexual harassment of an 18-year-old. This is Truth Recon, and I'm Agent D. Baker. And we're talking about Cordova, Alabama. Your police chief is gone, and now your mayor is on camera with an excuse that should make every resident furious. And the timeline tells you everything about how this would have been swept under the rug if that video hadn't surfaced. I saw a bunch of comments last night, not a bunch, but I saw some comments yesterday talking about why would y'all put this video out? This isn't right. This is why. If the video had not been leaked, all of this would have been swept under the rug. I promise you that. Just as they tried to do in the Tony Mitchell case. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, go back and watch some of my previous podcasts on Walker County Sheriff's Office and the Tony Mitchell case, where I go through when Nick Smith and some of his goons went around trying to illegally seize random citizens' cell phones because they believed they had a video on it of the torture of Tony Mitchell. That's exactly what they were trying to do then. If that video had not been leaked, the Tony Mitchell case would have been completely swept under the rug. I promise you that. We're looking at the same thing here. That's why they have to leak this stuff. Thankfully, someone from inside the city of Cordova, someone involved in this situation, knew that and leaked this video. And I commend them for that. And they did nothing illegal, by the way. Nothing. So let's set the facts. And I went over the specific incident and the video yesterday on a short podcast. So go check that out. But let's go over the facts. The video that's now circulating, the one of the incident, is dated August 26, 2025. In it, the man, identified by the mayor as then Chief Jason Hare, approaches an 18-year-old employee, puts his hands on her head, and makes movements that mimic a act. It's demeaning, it's predatory, and it's on video, clear as can be. The city council accepted Hare's resignation on Tuesday night. This letter was dated October the 6th, more than a month after the video date. The mayor says he didn't learn about the video until this past Saturday and insists the city handled it swiftly. Swiftly? After a month-old video shows your chief putting hands on a teenage subordinate? Spare me. Now, the mayor has tried to pull the old, I'm not giving excuses, but here's a whole list of excuses. Because his on-the-record excuse, and I'm going to read it exactly as he said it. And this is, quote, Cordova Mayor Jeremy Pate. Only thing I can say is that nobody wants to be in a position like that. Flesh is weak. People get caught up in stuff sometimes that they don't intentionally or don't necessarily want to do. I'm not making excuses for anyone, so we need to make sure we are keeping ourselves in positions that are professional and doing the right thing, end quote. Again, I'm not making excuses for anyone, but here's a whole list of excuses. That's the mayor of Cordova, Jeremy Pate. That is a minimization, plain and simple. Flesh is weak. Are you kidding me? That's what you say when your 49-year-old police chief is caught on video completely violating, sexually assaulting an 18-year-old employee. Now, I know by definition what he did is not sexual assault per Alabama state code. Understand that. It would be harassment per Alabama state code. But when I see that, that's just what I think is assaulting her as he is rubbing himself on her, as she pulls away at least twice, pushes away, turns her chair around. She does everything she can to get out of that situation. Flesh is weak, though. That's what the mayor says. These freaking small towns and this hiding behind Bibles I have seen enough of it. Stop trying to hide behind the Bible when you're doing some of the most horrible things you could possibly do. That is what's wrong with this. That is exactly what is wrong. You act like we're in the wrong for calling out these horrible, sick excuses for human beings. No. If you've read the same Bible I have, Jesus didn't go around staying quiet, did he? What did he do? He went around speaking to the world as loud as he could. But yet you all want us to stay silent because your Christian brother has done something completely horrible, and now you're trying to protect him with the Bible. No, that's not the way it works, because I am a Christian. I wish I was a better Christian. I will admit that. It's something I work on every single day, but I don't every time in my life I get in trouble or I do something wrong. I don't try to silence people by using the Bible. That's exactly what you all do. And we're sick of it. Number one, you make all Christians look bad. That is the reason that some people run from Christianity, because of people like you. You know it's true. That's not true Christianity. Now let's talk about the choice the city made: resignation instead of termination. Why does that matter? Because accepting a resignation before formal discipline often means no public for cause firing on the record, no required pre-disciplinary hearing that would lay out evidence on the city's letterhead, a cleaner paper trail for the official, and fewer details for the public. We've handled the problem. There's nothing else to talk about here. It's exactly what they're doing. No, you haven't handled the problem. You've pushed the problem down the street. There's a big difference. Yes, there's an investigation the city is hiding behind. We don't comment on personnel matters, and you're expected just to move on. It's not accountability. That's optics. Now, here's the part most cities won't say out loud when a government accepts a quick resignation in a case like this. It lowers the odds you'll ever see a full official line by line accounting of what happened and who failed to act. It keeps everything squishy. Meanwhile, the mayor says, we handled it in a swift manner. What was swift about a video dated August 26th and a resignation letter dated October the 6th that the council accepted on October the 7th? Only after reporters got the footage. That isn't swift, and it screams, we were never going to release this until there was a leak. If there wouldn't have been a leak, Jason Hare would still be the police chief in Cordova. I promise you that. And no one would have ever known the difference. And then we wonder, why are females scared to come out when this kind of things happen to her? Because we have quite a few people in society that are just complete ignorant. That's why. They want to pull this mess. They want to victim blame. They want to minimize. They want to sweep everything under the rug. That's why. Because I do my homework. Here's what the law requires behind the scenes. In Alabama, agencies must, let me repeat that, agencies must officer separations and certain disciplinary actions to a post. A post is this who issues law enforcement certification in the state of Alabama. And they maintain the law enforcement employment database. If the city only files a bland, resigned entry with no sustained misconduct documented, you risk the classic, what I call the wandering officer, which is a major problem, where someone leaves one department under a cloud and pops up in another. Now, this database was specifically started to prevent this kind of stuff, but that still requires the reporting agencies to be honest. Cordova must submit complete, accurate reporting, including the nature of the misconduct, so other agencies see the real story when they query the database. Do it right, do it fast, and notify a post in writing. I would highly suggest you do these things because we're going to go back and check later. Here are my direct questions for Mayor Pate and the Cordova City Council. Why did you accept resignation instead of initiating termination for cause based on the video you now acknowledge exists? Be specific. Date, times, who advised whom. Mayor, you're going to have to come out and give a detailed report about everything that happened, or we're not going to stop. It's called transparency. And I know that is a foreign word in Walker County, Alabama. That's what we are demanding. Will you release the full, unedited, original quality footage with necessary redactions to protect the victim's identity, obviously, along with any body cam or internal reports tied to that date? If not, why not? Have you already filed the required post separation and disciplinary reports that accurately describe the conduct, so another city cannot hire him without seeing the truth? So show the submission confirmations. What support is the 18-year-old employee receiving? Paid leave options, independent victim advocacy, and a guarantee she won't face retaliation put in writing? Because we all know if she worked for Nick Smith, she would have been fired immediately. That's what he does. Who is conducting the investigation into this? And is it truly independent of anyone who hired, supervised, or defended Jason Hare? Because your public comment don't inspire confidence. I promise you that. To the people of Cordova, the mayor's flesh is weak comment wasn't just tone deaf, it telegraphed a willingness to minimize misconduct by people in power. Simple as that. If that video hadn't have reached social media, you would not be seeing decisive action taken. The acceptance of resignation, paired with that excuse, tells you they were poised to keep this quiet. Your job now is to demand records, demand timelines, and demand compliance with state reporting so this man doesn't quietly land in another badge, which my hope is A Post is already seeing all of this and it's already in the works to pull his certification. I have a lot of confidence that's happening. And I said this yesterday, and I want to say it again to make it clear. To the victim, you did absolutely nothing wrong. Nothing. Document everything. Do not meet with anyone without an attorney. No one. Don't speak to anyone in that city without an attorney. Most of all, you are not alone. I myself have female followers that work with me that will be glad to speak to you at any time and keep everything y'all say confidential. People that you can trust. I promise you that gone through very similar things that you have gone through. You're not alone. This is Truth Recon. Truth, justice, and accountability. Like, follow, and share this so it does not get buried. And Cordova, I'll be here with updates until you get answers. I promise you that.